When the Hunger Games Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was originally announced, a lot of people were very excited for it, but as time has gone on and we've gotten closer to its release date, a lot of that hype has died because of Rachel Zegler's comments, the production crew's comments, but now the first critic scores are out and they are looking rough. I have a few different things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or via YouTube memberships. Now, you guys know I do not trust critic scores at all whatsoever. A lot of the time they are wrong. They rate something very low and audiences think it was amazing, so I do not necessarily trust these. But these scores combined with the early estimates that we are getting, it seems like this film is going to be a disaster. Now, these critic scores are actually the lowest in the franchise. The Hunger Games 2012 started with a solid 84%. Hunger Games Catching Fire is sitting at a 90%. Mockingjay Part 1 and Mockingjay Part 2 are both sitting at 70%. But the all-critic for Songbirds and Snakes is sitting at a 67, but it does not get any better from there because while the all is a 67, the top critic is sitting at a very measly 47%. Critics have many issues with this movie so far. Now, there are nearly 50 ratings, and I'm not going to sit here and read all of them, but I do want to show off just a few. Critics are saying things like Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes squanders a potentially rich premise and winds up as a stock issue Romeo and Juliet riff with nothing new for the die-hard faithful or curious newcomers. Now, this is a prequel to the other Hunger Games movies and books, and I know that there are a lot of Hunger Games stands out there who were very excited for this because it was supposed to show you President Snow's backstory and really kind of maybe change how you view him in the other movies, but unfortunately it seems like they really dropped the ball. Now, one thing I do not see critics mentioning here is Rachel Zegler, right? They don't want to talk about Rachel Zegler. They don't want to acknowledge the fact that she is surrounded in controversy right now, and I do think that is a big reason why the audience scores will not be good and why I do not think it is going to do good in theaters and at the box office. I don't think that she is the only problem with this movie, do not get me wrong, but I do think that she is bringing so much controversy and baggage to this movie that it is going to struggle because someone like me, I used to really like the Hunger Games. Of course, it was extremely popular when I was in my teenage years, and I did enjoy it, but unfortunately for me, I will not be watching Songbirds and Snakes in theaters. I will not be monetarily supporting it because I do not want to support Rachel Zegler and also several other actors and actresses that are in this movie like Hunter Schafer and also Peter Dinklage. While I used to really like him in Game of Thrones, he is, one of the reasons why Rachel Zegler's upcoming Snow White movie got rid of the dwarf actors, even though they're kind of replacing them with CGI at this point. It's kind of a mess over on that side of things, but there are several reasons why I wouldn't monetarily support it, but Rachel Zegler is first and foremost. Critics are also saying all of the elements that made the Hunger Games a successor there, the dark political metaphors, the horrific dystopian premise, the beautiful actors who make the whole bitter pill easier to swallow, but Songbirds and Snakes simply feels like a rehash. If your stomach has been rumbling these past 8 years for another portion of the Hunger Games, Lionsgate have rustled up from Suzanne Collins' 2020 prequel novel, and the vibe is very much sorry, but this is what we had in the fridge. So the critics are saying that it did not do anything new or unique, and while yes, it's got basically a reskin, there's new characters, it looks different because it's a different time period, it just does not give fans of Panem what we should be getting. And again, I don't usually trust critics. I do not look at critic scores and go, oh my gosh, I am or I am not going to see a movie based on their scores. But this combined with the early estimates are showing that this film is most likely going to be a box office failure. And of course, this is bad not just for the creatives behind this Hunger Games movie, but also for Marvel. I'm sure that you know that the Marvels recently released, and that means they only had a week to get a lot of money at the box office, and that did the worst in the MCU's history for opening weekend. And I don't think that this is going to do much better, just judging by these predictions. Predictions sometimes are a little bit off, but with Hunger Games, we have a very established franchise that you'd think would rake in money, because it has been a couple of years since we got the last Mockingjay film that didn't do all that good at the box office, but it still made money. But it says The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes predicted to have franchise worst opening weekend. It says Box Office Pro recently shared their long-range predictions for the film, predicting that it will gross between 35 and 45 million in its domestic opening weekend, meaning it would be right on par with the Marvels opening weekend. The box office is truly struggling right now. It says the outlet also predicted the film would only gross between 90 and 142 million in its entire run at the domestic box office. So the estimates for this film are pretty freaking abysmal. I bet that they were hoping that this was going to be like a billion-dollar film. We don't know exactly what the budget is, but we have heard that it has a rumored 135 million budget, meaning, they need to make $270 million at least, and Box Office Pro is usually pretty spot on with their estimates. Again, not 100% accuracy here, but they've got like an 85% accuracy, I'd say, right around there. So it is safe to assume that it will only, hit 90 to 142 in its entire domestic box office run, but we have no idea what it will be worldwide. But judging by the previous Hunger Games films, it pulls much of its viewership and much of the, money it makes from its domestic numbers. As you can see, Hunger Games in 2015, Mockingjay Part 2 grossed a total of 102 million in its opening weekend. It went on to earn 281 million in its domestic run. The Hunger Games film, the original one, had an opening weekend of 152 back in 2012, and it went on to gross 408 million at the domestic box office alone. And then Catching Fire had the biggest opening weekend in the franchise history with 158 million haul in 2013. It went on to gross a total of 424.6 million at the domestic box office. So it seems, at least right now, that Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes will most likely be a flop, and I do think that part of that is because of Rachel Zegler. Yes, they didn't have a lot of time for promotional material for actors and actresses to go into interviews, but before the actor strikes actually ended, about a week before, they had gotten a special, basically, license from SAG-AFTRA to actually do promotional material for this movie, so they really had a lot of chances to make this successful. It doesn't look like it is going to go all that well at the box office, though, even with that extra help. But judging by the critic scores, the top critics absolutely did not like this movie. Maybe it will fare better with audiences. Only time will tell. But right now, it is the lowest ranked Hunger Games movie in the franchise. And these opening numbers, these opening predictions are looking rough. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.